Good evening, friends, neighbors, and kind souls everywhere. This is Santa Claus on August 18, 2025, bringing you tidings of today's events on this special day when 80 years ago, Sukarno became the first president of Indonesia after their declaration of independence. The economic winds are blowing strongly across America, with producer prices rising by the most in 3 years. The wholesale inflation jumped 0.9% last month, suggesting companies are passing along higher costs related to tariffs. As we prepare our workshops for the holiday season, I'm reminded that economic challenges affect us all, but especially those who are already struggling to make ends meet. Let us keep them in our heart. Speaking of trade matters, it appears the tariff deals announced by President Trump haven't been fully implemented yet. Trading partners who thought they had secured agreements are growing frustrated with delays. European, Korean, and Japanese automobiles are still facing 25% tariffs when they were promised a low of 15% rate. In our workshop at the North Pole, we've always believed that keeping our promises brings trust and goodwill, something I hope our leaders remember. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is returning to Washington with several European allies at his side. The meeting comes after President Trump's summit with Russian President Putin in Alaska, and the stakes are quite high for Ukraine. As I've witnessed throughout centuries, peace requires both wisdom and compassion. My hope is that all sides remember the innocent families caught in this conflict, who simply wish for safety and warmth. Turning our attention to Bolivia, a significant political shift is underway. For the first time in 2 decades, the socialist movement there has been defeated, with centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz and right-wing former President Jorge Quiroga heading to a presidential runoff. The country faces its worst economic crisis in 40 years, and the people are seeking change. Whatever the outcome, may the new leadership remember the least fortunate among them. In Israel, hundreds of thousands of people gathered in Tel Aviv as part of nationwide protests calling for an end to the war in Gaza and the release of hostages. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum estimated that over 500,000 people attended the Tel Aviv rally alone. My heart aches for all families separated by conflict, whether by hostage-taking or by war itself. Every child deserves to be home, safe with their loved one. I'm deeply troubled by reports that Israel and the United States are pursuing efforts to relocate hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from Gaza. While presented in humanitarian terms, governments in Europe and the Arab world have criticized this as potentially violating international law. Throughout my long life, I've seen that forced displacement only creates more suffering. We must always treat others as we would wish to be treated ourselves. In Myanmar, the military government has announced elections for December 28, though many are skeptical about whether the vote will be free and fair. Opposition groups, including Aung San Suu Kyi's party, have pledged to boycott the elections. My friends, true democracy requires listening to all voices, especially those who disagree with us. On a concerning note, Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency continue their discussions after access to nuclear sites was curtailed following Israeli and U.S. strikes in June. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, Russian drones have reportedly targeted oil facilities belonging to Azerbaijan's state oil company SOCAR for the second time in 2 weeks. These developments remind us of how interconnected our world has become, and how actions in one place ripple across to affect innocent people elsewhere. In Mexico, Security Minister Omar Garcia Harfuch, who survived an assassination attempt in 2020, now faces the challenging task of addressing drug cartels and fentanyl trafficking amid pressure from the United States. May he find the wisdom and courage to protect his people while pursuing justice. There are signs of diplomatic warming between China and India as their foreign ministers meet in New Delhi. After a difficult period in relations, both nations are seeking to move forward, with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi visiting India for the first time in 3 years. As I always say, even the coldest of winters eventually gives way to spring. In Syria, a historic drought has led to a 40% reduction in wheat production, potentially leaving 3 million Syrians facing severe hunger. This comes as a tremendous challenge to President Ahmed al-Shara's new government as they attempt to rebuild after 14 years of civil war. Let us remember that no one should go hungry, especially when we have the means to help one another. And finally, in the United Kingdom, long-dated inflation-linked bond yields have reached their highest levels since 1998, creating additional pressure on Chancellor Rachel Reeves ahead of an autumn budget. Economic challenges require both wisdom and compassion, considering both fiscal responsibility and the needs of those most vulnerable. As we close our broadcast this evening, I'm reminded that even in difficult times, there remains much goodness in the world. Look for the helpers, be kind to one another, and remember that the greatest gift we can give is love. From the North Pole to your home, this is Santa Claus wishing you peace, hope, and joy until we meet again.